I hope you've really enjoyed our little run of podcasts in 2025. We're going to take a small break now, and we'll be back on the 8th of May. But meanwhile, Ross, Dave and I will be working hard, recording more. I hope you enjoy today's one. Welcome to the 1457 podcast from Scotland, where golf began. A digital platform where we try to inspire golfers near and far to come to Scotland to play all the fine courses we talk about, the famous and the not so well known, with our great photography, short films and stories, and of course, our podcast. You'll find all you know about how to play, stay, eat and travel around Scotland by visiting our website, scotlandwheregolfbegan.com. You'll find us on social at Where Golf Began and Facebook, Scotland Where Golf Began. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are. Today we're taking a trip around Scotland and we're looking at some of the fantastic second courses which are a little bit overshadowed by their better known siblings. But however, first off, we'll introduce you to the other two guys here. Dave Kerr, how are you, Dave, from Fairways to Heaven? Are you well? How is heaven on the fairways?
Yeah, very well. Yeah, heavenly. Absolutely heavenly. Yeah, wonderful. Really enjoying myself.
And our resident Scuzzy, Ross Flanagan. Ross, how are you going?
Good, thank you, Malcolm. Hello, Dave. Good to see you both again. I'm very well, and no, I can't complain.
Go on, try.
No, he's listening anyway.
Well, I gave Ross a bit of a hard time about a word on the last podcast. It was maybe a little bit whatever, but I made a bit of an upcock earlier by having the wrong speaker on, and he called. What did you call me? You called me a.
Some people might offensive. I
don't think it's offensive. It's a very Scottish word. You called me
a tube. People call Malcolm worse things all day.
In fairness to the listener,
sometimes to his face.
In fairness,
try to describe what a tube is from Scotialand.
Well, I still have no idea what a tube is from Scotialand, but what I do know is, in fairness to the listeners and to explain, some of the banter that happens off air. I was recounting, yes, I did call Mr. Duck a tube because he made a mistake, a very simple mistake. It's amateur hour podcasting here, but we've rectified that, so audio system is renewed. But I called him a tube, and I recounted the story when I first learnt what the word tube was, and I grew up with the Scottish vernacular in my life. I knew all the words, hudjawisht, all of that. I never heard tube until my wife called me a tube one day, and I laughed, and I still laugh whenever she calls it, which is often, and I think it's one of my favourite words. So I used that, and I called Mr. Duck a tube. There you go.
Anyway, there you go, boys and girls from all over the world. If you get called a tube in Scotland, it means you've done something wrong, but maybe you're just a bit okay, or depending on the tone, maybe you're not.
Yeah.
So we're going to, and I'm Malcolm Duck, the out-of-work restaurateur hotelier seeking gainful employment. So today we're looking at the great second courses in Scotland's golf clubs. You'll find stacks of info on our website if you click on blogs, and you'll find lots of stuff there about all these great second courses. And we're going to start today with Carnoustie Golf Links. And Carnoustie, one of the great golf courses in Scotland up near Dundee. And Carnoustie, 8 opens there, and 2 lovely little golf courses beside it, the Budden Links course and the Burnside course. Memories, first off, of Carnoustie, boys? Who wants to crack in there?
Well, I'll go with my most recent memories because I was up there about 2 weeks ago and sitting in the clubhouse doing a little bit of work overlooking the championship links and just reflecting on what a great place it is for golf. Now, I can't really contribute too much to the discussion on the Budden and the Burnside, only that I've played golf on the tournament, on the championship links. So in terms of locations for golf and settings for golf, I don't think you'll get too many better. And to have a destination with world-renowned tournament course and then 2 great courses beside it is a absolute privilege to be sitting there doing it. But I haven't played and I need to, so I'm interested to hear what you guys explain to whet my appetite and also the people listening's appetite.
I've had great days out on both courses, yeah. Well, all 3, I suppose, actually. But I know the Burnside, even going back to when Ben Hogan won the Open they had a 2-day qualifying there. So 18 holes on the championship, 18 holes on the Burnside. So, there's a history there of it being used for championship purposes. It is in many ways like a kind of small version of the championship course. Some great holes, some great short holes, some good long holes as well. The 17th is a particularly tricky hole. Yeah, I'm a big fan of the Burnside, and then the Budden, probably played the Budden a bit less often, maybe only 3 or 4 times. I think it was out of commission completely for a few years there. I think, is that right, Malcolm? While they were doing some offshore work with wind turbines. But again, is a very, very fun little course. I think it's much newer though. I think it's early 80s. Peter Alice and Dave Thomas, I think.
79, yep.
Yeah, no, they took some land from the MOD. From all 3 courses, you can still hear the guns going at Barry Budden Ranges. Somewhere I'm sure you spent quite a bit of time, Malcolm, in your youth.
Quite funny, because I've played the golf courses once or twice, but I've spent many, many hours looking at them. I've actually been across them more times at night than I've been across them during the day, and it's amazing what happens in a golf course at night, even round about there and up round our berth. It's a beautiful piece of land. Yeah, I need to go and play them more often, but Barry Budden and the ranges, these kind of ranges and gorse and wet and rain and running into the sea, getting freezing cold, doesn't always bring the best memories back. I think as you get older, maybe you try and forget one or two of the not quite so good ones. It was Loudon Bay up there when I used to run out from our berth to there and come back. You ran into the sea up to your neck, and 35 guys had to run around you before you could come back in as the young officer, and you were reasoning, following your bits and bobs off. Roscoe.
So just to clarify, because the times that I have played the championship course, as you rightly say, Dave, you can hear the firing range. So it's actual live artillery firing range. This is for the people that have either wondered what it was, because the people I played with, sort of question though. Clearly, it's a firing range. But Malcolm, you're saying that it is a military firing range, only military. It's not a
it's one of the big main ranges in Scotland, and you've got 4 or 5 commando up on Arbroath. So 4 or 5 commando are ready to deploy all over the world at short notice. Royal Marines are now one of the elite forces, and they're doing more and more things. Are busier and busier. Supply 46% of the special forces in the UK. So it's an interesting place, and some very good ranges, some good, get some good length for sniper fire, for all sorts of different things. Yeah.
Despite the gunfire cracking around you and whistling, it's pretty safe because they're elite people there doing it. So don't worry, guys. It's all good.
It's totally safe because you get visiting people who are not elite people doing it there as well. But the all these things are very, very firmly controlled, and no lead goes anywhere near the golf course. You're much more at danger on the golf course from one of Dave's little gentle fading balls off the tee. Nowadays, not true.
You know what I like about a golf course, and it just reminds me, and some people, it really pees them off, but I like when there's a bit of atmosphere around it from, other things happening. And I can probably think of a couple of courses, but I don't mind it, like the New South Wales comes to mind, that there's also a firing range next to New South Wales, which is in the top courses in the world. So, there we go. There's some commonalities there. I like a bit of atmosphere.
Yeah, it's we had a little golf course in Arbroath too, but our Arbroath golf course is quite nice. Not a second course, but we were talking the other day about golf trip under 500 quid. I mean, there are lots of these little courses, and they're not so well known. And the Budden and the Burnside are great examples of 2 fantastic golf courses, a bit shorter. If you're going to play 36, play one of those as well, because you're not taking on 2 massive golf courses in a day.
There was a group of 12 of us used to go up to the hotel. I think the hotel, the Carnoustie Golf Hotel, used to do a kind of Sunday driver thing. I'm pretty sure they still do it, maybe off season, where say on the Sunday you play the championship course, and then on the Monday you play one of the other 2 courses. And again, just one night, very reasonably priced. Great way to get a good flavour of links golf up there. Really, really nice way to spend an evening. Maybe venture into Dundee for the highlights of Dundee on the Sunday night. Lots of good memories of those. We did that maybe 5 or 6 years in a row.
And Dundee's up and well, it's a lot to go in Dundee culturally and bar-wise and restaurant-wise, so on and so forth. Okay, so now we move up to Cruden Bay. Anyone want to chat about Cruden Bay?
Yeah, the St Olaf, a 9-hole course that sits in the middle of the championship course, basically. So obviously shares the same land, the same topography. It's, I think, it's 1920 something from Tom Simpson and Herbert Fowler. After being initially laid out as a ladies' course there by old Tom Morris, I think assisted by Archie Simpson back when the championship course was laid down, what was that, 1899, I think. A little bit of tweaking last year as well. They rerouted the 18th hole of the championship course and stole a little bit from one of the St Olaf holes. But again, it's just great fun. Get a little taste of links golf. You can be round there hour and a quarter. And I think, as we maybe mentioned on another podcast, if you have a visitor around on the championship course, then a round on the St Olaf is included in your green fee, either the day before, the day after, or the day of you're playing the championship course, which I think is a great way just to either maybe warm up for a bit of links golf. I think a lot of us, a lot of people travelling around the country, maybe not used to a lot of links golf. Good to get a wee taste of it before you step onto championship links. Yeah. And
the main course is pretty good too. But 9-hole courses, I mean, there are so many of them in Scotland, we don't really think about them terribly much. 1457 Society we did in Perthshire. We went up to, where did we go? We went to
Comrie and St Fillan's.
Comrie and St Fillan's, and, inland, but beautiful little golf courses. I think we talk about some courses a bit rough, but they're kind of very Scottish in their way, and cracking day out. So going playing 9 and having a break, having lunch, little drive, and then go to the next place is fantastic. And again, if you're driving from A to B and you want to stop off and break the journey up and have a few holes, some of these 9-hole courses are great. And again, you'll find quite a lot on the website. But again, 9-hole course, kind of miniature version of the big course, and some great golf course up round about Cruden Bay, isn't there? Some great golf, not just in Cruden Bay.
Yeah, Peterhead, Fraserburgh, all within kind of really easy shooting distance of there. I think I was up in Cruden Bay for a round last year, early season, maybe May, June time. Whistled round quite quickly with a friend and thought, well, we're round so quick, we could squeeze another 18 in somewhere, couldn't we? So we headed up. It's only maybe 10-15 minutes up to Peterhead and had another 18 up there.
When you talk about that just now, I mean, we're just moving out of the winter where you get one round a day in and you've got to get round and get pretty quickly, and then moving into the summer, you can probably get 3 rounds. Certainly if you put if you do a 9-holer, you get 2 18s and a 9-holer in. And again, if you're staying in one area rather than driving halfway across Scotland, that really works. So Royal Dornoch, we had Neil on the podcast the other day. So if you want to go back and listen to Neil's podcast, he'll talk a lot about the Dornoch and what happens up there. But we've got the Struy golf course, which is a lot of work going on there. Ross, do you want to come in on the Struy a little bit?
Well, again, I spent significant amount of time up there, but without striking a blow of golf in anger. But I think the work starting up there is a wee ways away, and if you listen to that podcast with Neil, he'll articulate some of that work that's in plan and with the architects that they're talking to, which I think are many. You're basically asking them to come up with a plan for how to make Royal Dornoch and the surrounds, a real proper destination in terms of amenities. But the Struy, what I did do is I droned it significantly. So I did a flyover of every hole a couple of times, and in doing that, you really get to see. I walked the course and flew the drone, and you get to see all of the little nooks and crannies and the little nuances. And I think at face value, when you look at it, it's quite flat. There's a lot of links land, can be sometimes. It's not your traditional big duney type of property, but the interesting part for me is some of the things that don't obviously stand out to you, which make links golf so good. Little bits of fairway revetted bunkers popped out behind a little knoll, and the green complexes there, I think, is what stood out to me. You know, like as simple as the hole might be, the green complexes and the mounding and the natural terrain around those greens just really make those holes spectacular. For a wee course that sits adjoined, again, you know, one of the top golf courses in the world. For anyone that does play it or is a member there or wants to play it, it's certainly somewhere that, you know, you're going to enjoy your round of golf from what I saw. And again, going back to the plans and that land that they've got, I droned that, and, you know, there's some significant opportunities out there for development of golf, and the Mackenzie new par 3 that they've got, which I don't think is open for play. I think it's the 10th. You know, they've changed that hole and changed the 11th as it meanders around the bay, the Dornoch Firth there. So a couple of nice changes there, but yeah, it's really looks an exciting course to go and play. And as I say, I just got to study it from the bird's eye view, but was really, really happy doing that. Sometimes I feel like if I just do fly a drone, I always feel like I've played a round of golf. A strange feeling to articulate, and people are going to go, "What are you talking about?" But I almost get as much enjoyment in a golfing sense of doing that rather than as opposed to just hitting golf balls. But anyway, that's what I think. That's what I've experienced about the Strewy. You guys have probably shot, you know, 80 or 90 around there a couple of times.
Ross, just saying the kind of expansion there. What are you talking about? They bought some land, or what are they doing there?
Yeah, I think, and Neil talked about it. The course acquired some land which was adjacent to the. We talked about it. It's the western end of. I think it's at the back of 10 or 11. You know, basically the furthest point of the Strewy. There's a farm plot there that became available, which the course has acquired, and as they look to change the holes surrounding the clubhouse, where the new clubhouse will be, it obviously encroaches onto the first of the Strewy. So the first and the second are on a patch of land which sits on the same side of a road as the clubhouse. Yeah, they want to change that location of maybe those couple of holes, and that land might be used to do something else to expand the Strewy. As they sort of work out what they're doing with the first and the second, because the first now has to play as a par 3 to take the clubhouse on the right-hand side out of play, and then I think the second's a par 3, is it not, Dave? Yeah, the second's a par 3 down, and then you cross the road to the third. So they're just sort of reorienting that part, which will mean maybe having some other land to extend, change other hole locations. So yeah. It just adjoins on there, and it's a bit of farmland which, you know, joins the Dornoch Firth, and again, another very, very exciting piece of land and potential development and future development on a significant golf property in the country.
Again, I've had many a good afternoon, maybe after playing the championship course, following up a round on the Strewy, many a wonderful afternoon there. And I wouldn't dispute your claim that I've shot in the 80s and 90s there, certainly. Certainly
is that?
80s. But again, it is one of those where there are hidden bunkers, and I get, like, when we talk about some of the not the dunescape links land, but that it's that ruffled fairway, and you go, is that a shadow? Is that a bunker? It's invariably a bunker. Certainly when my ball strays towards it, and you get up there and realise that you're in a horrible, nasty bunker towards the lip rather than just in a nice little shadowed little dell, you know. But yeah, it's I'm really excited by the plans that they've got. I think what they've got there is already a very fun addition, great place to spend a bit of time. But yeah, really excited by what they're going to do. I don't think I have played it since. There's a kind of infinity green that's been put onto one of the par 3s or something? Is that right, Ross?
Yeah, it's that the new par 3, the Mackenzie. Because what's his name? Is it Tom Mackenzie? Mackenzie and Ebert
Mackenzie Ebert, yeah.
Yeah, so he's a member there. So he's redone one hole there, the par 3, and it's plays back towards the water, back towards the Firth, and the green is a little elevated, and it's, you know, almost an infinity green as you look at it. You know, the backdrop is the water, and looking out to the across the Dornoch Firth there. So it's a simple little par 3. It's not as elaborate as some of the other par 3s that he's put on, you know, tournament courses. You know, think of Hoylake. You know, it's not as in your face as that type of par 3. It's a little bit longer, but yeah, I've got a picture of it there somewhere.
No, I've seen some footage, and maybe even your footage, to be honest, Ross, which was exceptional, obviously. But I just I love the fact that they they're continuing to invest in that place, and the idea of bringing it up to the point where it starts to have the figure in the same conversation as a championship course would be tremendous, a tremendous resource.
Yeah, because it had some nice hills, but quite one or two you could say were quite weak. So they're just strengthening it, but without trying to change the character of the course. Because they don't want another Dornoch. They want a second course, which is equally fun. And looking out across that Forth is just gorgeous. And the drive from Inverness is lovely. But we've got some good accommodation members up there as well. Because I think you stayed in Dornoch Station, Ross. So you're becoming Mr. Dornoch, mate.
I feel like I've stayed in both. I've stayed at Dornoch Station, and with any of the marine and lawn properties that you see, they've been renovated over the times to, as they've been taken over by the marine and lawn group, and it's just a quintessential Scottish style accommodation. Like the livestock heads on the wall, the elk heads, and the pig billiard room, and the bar. I like the bar because it's called Ross Bar. But it's just nice country style Scottish accommodation. And the Royal Golf is an exceptional property as well. It's like a 1 second walk to the first tee, and
roll down the stairs. Yep.
Yeah, roll your buggy down the stairs. If you stay on the right side of the property, the golfers warming up in the nets will be waking you up with whacking the golf balls next to your room, and which is nice. It's atmosphere, as I said. But they're both great properties.
The food in the Royal Golf is exceptional, and Dornoch Station's really coming on. And then up the road in Brewer, you've got the Royal Marine Hotel. So Brewer is a bit of a drive, but not that far up. But I think what's not on our list is Castle Stewart, because they haven't quite got a second golf course yet, but they will by the end of the year. The PT, which we've not played, but again they're looking at developing accommodation there, so there will be more accommodation around that area to go and play golf. But I think Tom Doak's new course up there, they're doing some preview play in August, I think.
That's right.
Hoping to be open for next year. But it's always interesting trying to open new courses and how quickly do you get them open, and when do you get them played, and when do you not get them played. So if you're going up to playing that, enjoy it. Tom's courses are great, but remember it is a young course, so give it a bit of break when you go and look at it.
Looking forward to seeing that one, Malcolm. It's a lot of the work has been done by Clyde Johnson there, and if there's a handful of young and up and coming architects in the global golf scene, some of the statesmen sort of move towards the latter end of their careers. Clyde Johnson is one of those, and he spent a lot of time at St Patrick's Links over at Rosapenna in Ireland, and really he and Angela Moser built a fantastic course over there. But really keen to see what Clyde's been able to do up there with the team that he's had from Renaissance Golf Design.
Yeah, it's interesting with Tom, because I thought Tom was going to maybe start taking a bit easier, but he seems to be back in full pelt and traveling everywhere and working hard. But I know he's got a huge amount of faith in Clyde, and it wouldn't surprise me if one of the reasons he took that was because Clyde was more local, and Clyde's done a great job, some good stuff at North Berwick, and a tremendous guy too, just a very, very nice person. I think Clyde will be one of the guys you watch for coming through in the golf architecture space coming through. So that's just a wee mention up there. And then we head down into Perthshire and the Blairgowrie golf course, where we have the Lansdowne and
the wee course. The wee course.
Yeah, but what's Blairgowrie? Blairgowrie itself, and the Lansdowne. If you haven't played it, have you played the Lansdowne, Dave?
I have. I am lucky enough to have played both the Lansdowne and the wee course.
And did you enjoy the Lansdowne?
I did, yeah. Again, what's interesting is it's a very.
I'm just thinking you'd have to start that down the left-hand side every single time, because that's
again. There any of these golf courses with trees on them, Malcolm. Basically, that's give me a nice, open, friendly golf course every day of the week. But no. I think that the Rosemount. I think maybe is that the one you were searching for, and the Lansdowne are both terrific golf courses, but also they're good contrasts. I think that's one thing that makes a good 36 hole is that of a club is to have two courses that are complementary and maybe slightly contrasting, and I think that's what Blairgowrie have got with the Lansdowne and the Rosemount. But then the wee course, again, it's a relatively new thing for me. I've only played it a couple of times just in the last probably 4 or 5 years. One of my friends is a member there. Sure, one day we pitched up hoping to just pick up a round on one of the other two courses, and nothing was available. So we went out on the wee course, and what a revelation! Just a bundle of joy, just fun at every turn, basically. And again, I think it's one of the Doak books that I've just finished reading. He's got a kind of wee red book. Is it? I can't remember what that's called.
One of his favourite. I can't remember which number.
Just literally called a wee red book. And he's got there's a hole which has got the kind of entry to the green is framed by trees, kind of pointing away from and it just nips in the entry point to the green, and I'm sure Doak waxes lyrical about it. Waxes lyric about it in his book. It's again, it's not a Mackenzie design, but it's designed by the locals and their interpretation of what Alistair Mackenzie would have done with that bit of land, basically. So it's got a lot of those kind of signature features.
I just had to stop bursting out laughing there because when he's talking about the wee red book, of course, Ross pulls out his red book. Now, as I'm talking, he goes to try and find his wee red book. Well, okay, I'm the only guy without the wee red book, but Tom told me about it.
Well, if Dave and I give you our wee red books, maybe you could get Mr. Doak to sign it.
I'll have to get
a little. It's
yeah,
sorry, it's already signed. Dave's already got one.
But sadly, Ross, we need to read the book. Malcolm can just phone up Tom and
exactly. These guys are rabid on about your book.
Well, I'm a dyslexic duck. Remember, I had to do the other things. I had to read the books for the first time for years. I need to start reading some, especially some of Tom's. But going back to Lansdowne, I don't know another course like it because it is just pine trees down either side. And I really like it because I drive better there. For some reason, it just straightens me up. And I think if you get any fear about hitting the ball, you're just going to hit it in the trees and have a bit of a day kind of cacking out sideways. But every single hole is just a line of trees coming down with interest and little dog legs. It's not neither the longest courses, but you've really got to think your way around both. And the setting is of all three is just tremendous. A lovely clubhouse as well. An absolutely gorgeous clubhouse. I think it's Blairgowrie and the two courses there, Rosemount and Lansdowne, are very underrated and certainly very well worth a stop off. Again, even if you're just playing the wee course and having a look around and go there for lunch, big car park if you're up that part of the world, very easy to stop in and have a look see. And I know you guys in the States, you play a lot more parkland courses, but I was actually talking to Mr. Doak about that, which is your favourite golf course, was the conversation. And everyone knows him for his links courses, but actually he's got some phenomenal inland courses as well. But it tends to be the links courses that have the scenery and have the settings and are visually spectacular, but don't necessarily make them all the best holes. So we're going to talk about a couple of non-links ones in a minute. But certainly go and have a look at that there.
I'll give you Malcolm. Oh, sorry, Malcolm. I'll give you a full blow-by-blow of 27 holes of trying to break 80 or 90 myself in June. Signed up for that. What was it? What did I sign up for, Dave, the other day? The 27 hole on the wee course. They're open that they have in June. So I've got a couple of North Berwick members and I going up there to get 27 holes around the wee course. So haven't played it, but looking forward to a great. One of the great things about Scottish golf, and I've always said this to many people, is the ability to do these little open days and play a place like that for relatively affordable rates. It's just a great way to access the course. Anyway,
I play every year with the Bill McLaren Foundation, which is just basically raising money for kids coming through in all sorts of sports. So I get to play it with some of the rugby legends, which is always a joy. And amazing.
They get to play with you, Malcolm. They get to play with you.
How well some of them can still hit it. And also a nice little lock in the middle, which is good fishing. Anyway, we move to Glen Eagles. 3 courses at Glen Eagles. and the two kind of other, well, which are the two other courses at Glen Eagles? The Queen's for sure. So which would you say first off is the main course at Glen Eagles? Is that up for dispute?
Oh, this could be a social media viral debate. This one, Malcolm. Um, the Ryder Cup course, the PGA Centenary course, is often knocked for the fact that it is quite a departure from Mr. Braid's work in the Kings and the Queens. I would say that if clients ask us to play around there, they usually mean the Kings. Even our American friends, they would probably favour the Kings over the PGA Centenary. I'm lucky enough to spend a week at Glen Eagles every year with my family. I try and play around on each of the courses. I'd say the PGA gets better every time I play it. I maybe appreciate it more. I think the beauty, again, we mentioned this when we were talking about some of the Blairgowrie courses. It's the contrast as well. I think you've got three courses there with a very different character. Obviously, the Kings has hosted some tremendous tournaments. I think more recently would be the 2022 senior, maybe, was it the Kings?
Yeah.
And they had made some changes for that, lengthen it a little bit. It probably got a bit short for the pros. It's probably a bit short for the your non-senior pros. But it's still a great test. Of course, there's some tremendous history on the Kings. Who can forget, for those of children of the 80s, young Terry Wogan's putt on the 18th green on Shell's World of Golf, or whatever that was at the time. Probably, I think they said it was the longest putt ever held on TV. I think Michael Phelps probably beat it at the St Andrews Dunhill Cup a couple of years ago. But also, the shot heard around the world when I had a hole-in-one at the King's Course. So and on a par four, no less. Yeah. No, indeed. Only one albatross in my life, only one hole-in-one in my life, and it was in the same hole with the same shot. Yeah, I've got a bit of an affection for the King's Course, if I'm honest.
So which of the two junior courses? Which is the senior course? So you got to go for one. You can't go. There's going to be a viral debate and not put yourself out there.
The Queen's. What I love about the Queen's, I'd say that the Queen's is maybe a little bit tighter than the King's. A little bit shorter, a little bit tighter. Some really good driving holes. Only, what is it, the one par five, I think? And the par five is...
I think you might be right.
Yeah, and then the par five is followed by a kind of drivable par four, if you catch one just at the right angle. And then the next hole is one of those holes that divides opinion. What that'd be maybe the ninth, is it? Where it's got a very severe dogleg. A par four, a very severe dogleg, probably about 200 yards off the tee. So you probably are hitting an iron to the corner and then another iron up into the green, which again, I know some people probably wouldn't enjoy very much, but I think it just adds to the general character of the course. So yeah, I don't know what you're calling the second course and the third course. I'm going to avoid answering.
Oh, come on, you woos! Oh, what do you expect from someone that supports and backs St Andrews and all that stuff? Not even. Come on, get out there.
Well, there's the academy course. Let's call it that. That's probably the third. Yeah. So, but no, again, I've got some wonderful memories at Glen Eagles, and enjoy all of their golf courses, and even the little course that sits at the front of the hotel. There's a little 9-hole kind of pitch and putt, and I've been going up there with my family since the kids were unable to hold a golf club. To be honest, they were that small. They were still in buggies. But every year in the last, maybe 7 or 8 years, we've gone at least one lap around that little 9-hole pitch and putt course, and
that's quite
have some great fun. Very competitive. The competitive streak of my daughters comes out at that point.
So Roscoe, any memories? Which one would you go for the main course there?
Well, again, as the recent migrant to Scotland. I'm unfortunately not played all three courses. I've only played one. I've played the Kings, and it was a great experience. Loved it. I was at the Solheim Cup on the final day. It's a famous day in women's golf, and that was an amazing experience to see the Centenary course, and that's the only way that I've seen that course. But what I will say is, again, that area, Octorata and Gleneagles and the village and the surrounding area, albeit it's not by the coast, and you mind wanders to golf and Scotland and links. That whole area is just one of the most stunning locations that I've had the privilege of staying in for a couple of nights. I didn't stay at Gleneagles like Dave does. No, I just stayed in Octorata. But beautiful, just beautiful. The Ochil Hills there, fantastic. I'm still perplexed by the Gleneagles West or the G West or whatever it's called there, that whole scenario, which people have asked me about. I couldn't explain, but it's not a second course, so I'm not going to talk about it. But anyway, it's a beautiful area.
So G West, just for people who don't know, there's another whole golf course that's been built and not opened. So it's all built and maintained. So yeah, I don't really know the ins and outs and why that happens or not. But Gleneagles is just class in the glass. But Gleneagles almost wasn't at Gleneagles. It was almost at Lanark.
Really?
Because when the railway company were going to do it, they were trying to decide between Gleneagles and Lanark as to where to build the new great place. And it was the casting vote of the director that took it to Gleneagles. So it went down to a casting vote. Had the casting vote gone the other way, the whole thing would have been built at Lanark, which is also a lovely little golf course. However, Gleneagles for me is lots of special memories. I went to school down the road in Dollar and played a lot of my golf at Muckert, which is a lovely little 3-9s. And I've been lucky enough to win 2 tournaments at the PGA course. One pre-Ryder Cup that Visit Scotland did, and one with a rugby thing with Mr. Hastings G, which was great fun. And it's a great golf course, but I think you're right, Dave. Some of these newer courses, if you haven't, actually any course, if you haven't played it, the more you play it, the more you understand it. And I think that's very, very true of the old course in St Andrews. Actually, a lot of people who played it the first time, taken in, love the atmosphere in the first, but then what's it all about? And you have to play it a few times. I think the big course there, the PGA is very much like that. It's also a lot of walks. It's designed for buggies. It's designed for the Ryder Cup. Spectacular viewing course. I mean, the Ryder Cup and the Solheim there, I think, went so well. So it's kind of designed for that. For me, I'll go out there. The Kings is the number one for me. I had one of my favorite opening holes in golf. It's a big wide field. You can't hit it where you're right. You got to kind of hit it down the right hand side to get a shot onto the green, and you got this bloody green that's on a 45-degree slope, and you got to hit a long shot to get up and get in there. Very, very, very hard to judge. Been some great competition golf there. George Pepper wrote an article called the 1512 Overture because he took his wife there, and she was like a lot of shots over, both 15 and 12. I think she had a 15 and a 12 on a couple of holes, so he called it the 1512 Overture. and got in a lot of trouble with his wife. And my trouble with my wife will come on the Queens when I get to that. But the Kings is just the vision through that, the holes, the scenery, tremendous. Yeah, one blind shot early on over the hill, but that's okay. And then the Queens is just an absolute joy of a course. And I was invited up to play there with a chap called Kevin Doyle, who's done a lot in hospitality behind Archerfield and so on. And I was his playing partner. And just out at the turn, there's par 3, and I was in the green, and the caddy was standing there holding the pin. And I thought, this is Gleneagles. That's a really badly cut hole. And I was really badly cut hole. And I hit my putt to about 6 inches. It wasn't the hole, it was the sprinkler head on the green, which hadn't quite been trimmed. And Mr. Doyle looked at me. We had a couple of beers afterwards, maybe one or two too many, and I hadn't quite realised my wife was about to tell me she was pregnant when I got home. So I didn't get told she was pregnant when I got home because I had too many beers and I got a scalping. So anyway, there we go. the Queen's, all three courses just a joy, and Gleneagles is just a class act. I mean, Gleneagles do so many things well, and they produce so many people through their training to go into hospitality and to golf and all sorts of different things. So it's always a joy going there. And even if you're driving past, pop in for afternoon tea or something, and or go down to Dormy House and have a look around. Again, a huge amount of history. And Bob Hope also played on the first and the Kings. And I think on his fourth fresh air shot, he looked up and said, "Man, they told me this was hard, but this is really tough." Some guy. So then we head down towards Ayrshire, and we're talking about Trump Turnberry. I don't know if we don't trust the Trump much. People may have political views, but what he's done in Scotland on golf courses can't really be argued with. The course in Aberdeen is getting great review, and Turnberry's off the open road because of all that. It also struggled to get some people down there and so on, because the infrastructure and the roads weren't the best. But now that the Open is kind of sold online, I think wherever it goes, it'll be pretty well sold out. But what they have done, and Trump enabled, was to make all the changes that had been wanted for a long, long time. And I think, you guys may correct me, I think most of the changes that were made were ones that had already been put in place before he bought it. I think he maybe made one or two. And I think the course is currently closed, due to open in a couple of months, because they're changing two more holes. I played it last year, just a magnificent golf course. And then the second course is the Robert the Bruce course, which again they've also done a lot to, and that's a treat to play as well. So just quickly on the Ailsa, Dave, do you know what the changes are they're done this year? The two holes.
Yeah, I was down there in October, late October, and they'd started work on the complete redesign of the seventh, and then they're moving the eighth tee as well. So they were good enough to open the rest of the course for a group of tour operators to come and have a go at it. So and then some of the staff talked us through the changes to the seventh and the eighth while we walked between the sixth green and then the temporary eighth tee. And essentially they're moving that seventh fairway probably about 150 yards towards the coast. So it'll now sit actually in some dunes, and just take advantage of that coastline a bit more. So it's only going to enhance the place. It's only going to enhance it. Again, Mackenzie and Ebert involved in the redesign work there, as they are in all work that the R&A have any interest in, really. One of the wonderful things I think about the King Robert the Bruce course is that one could argue that it uses the coastline even better than the Ailsa as it stands at the moment. I think if that, although in this context it is a second golf course, if you take that golf course and move it somewhere else, and it wasn't part of that resort, that would stand alone as a wonderful championship golf course anywhere else in the country. I think the variety of holes, I say the use of the coastline, the amazing bunkering. Again, it's Martin Ebert, right? So they spared no expense in terms of recent upgrades to that course, and it shows. I think that is. We've not set ourselves the challenge of picking the best second course in Scotland, but again, I think that would be a very strong contender if in that debate. I think it's a hugely enjoyable place to spend some time with some friends.
But they have made a lot of changes on that course as well. So I mean, that course was a fairly average course before. I mean, it was a nice play, but the drainage wasn't great. It was a bit wet and boggy. You kind of got to the coastline.
Kintyre, is that what they called it?
But it's now a tremendous golf course, and as you say, it makes, when you get up around to the coast, there's some wonderful holes on the course, some great views, but actually the ground's being used extremely well. And some of the slightly more inland holes, I mean, some of these, I say slightly more inland, but they're not much more inland than some great golf courses than others. I mean, Turnberry is one of the few golf courses, even on the open rota, that you see the sea from a lot. It's one that it's pretty well an out and back course. There aren't many of those. So although it's slightly to the right, I mean, it's still pretty close to the coast. And I think it's tremendous golf course. Roscoe, you played that?
No, I haven't. No, I've only had some experience on the Elsa course in a photographic sense. Photographed some groups down there last year. So I walked it all, but never played.
Yeah. And again, a couple of these courses, if you go onto the website and look at the pod videos and so on, you'll find the history of the golf course and little flyovers and telling you about the history of what happened, where, what, and why. But yeah, and I think the other thing, just to clear up on that, the £1,000 a round, Dave, you have a bit more information on that, whether that was a PR stunt to get people talking or went but they're wrong. But really, what they're trying to do is get people to stay in the hotel. So if you're staying in the hotel, it doesn't cost anything like that. But if you're staying outside, then maybe it does. But I think also, again, correct me wrong, they brought in dynamic pricing. So those prices are only for a very few times in the day.
Yeah, so if you go back to 23 and 24, if you were not a resident in the hotel, you couldn't play the course before 1 p.m. 1 p.m. To play the Elsa course was strictly reserved for residents and members. Due to demand, they have said, right, okay, we will allow non-residents and non-members to play before 1 p.m., but the price is £1,000. And as you say, you know, that was demand, does mean that, you know, you may as well stay in the hotel, actually. And why have I not? It's a wonderful hotel. The rooms are all impeccably designed and appointed. The restaurants and bars are great places to spend time. So yeah, you're right. It was, it is what it is, and it attracted a lot of attention, but there was some logic behind it.
Yeah, yeah. So backing up a wee bit, we go to Royal Troon, and then you have the Portland course, which is the ladies' course, because they have the ladies' clubhouse. And although ladies are now allowed in Royal Troon, I don't think many have wanted to join. I think they're very few, because they have their course at Portland, which anyone can play. And it was developed, again, you'll see we film about that on the website, and the history of it was really developed because there was so much demand for Royal Troon that it grew up. And again, on very, very similar land, a little bit inland, but great test of golf. You guys, you played it, Ross?
No, never played.
No? Again, I can't remember par fives and par fours number, but they're it's got an unusual number of par fives and par fours, but it's a cracking stretch. It just starts on the other side of the road from the clubhouse, just behind the Marine Hotel, and it's just a very fair stretch of golf. One or two long holes. Has it got 5 par threes? I'm thinking it's got 5 par threes. I should have known that, but again, the views are fantastic. You can see across out. You can actually sometimes see the sea a little bit more, I think, than you can on Troon, because times you're a little bit higher up. Because Troon, you can't by any means always see to the coast. I think you did mention in one of the podcasts you sometimes had to go to the beach in the first and second on Royal Troon. Dave, was the wind blowing the light.
I have glanced over the fence.
just trying to keep that 90 score, you know, breaking that 90, just trying to push that to the limit. Yep, I get it.
A little bit like the King Robert the Bruce course, an absolute course that you should go and play. It really should be on your list. It's a cracking links golf course, nice undulations. Ayrshire courses, when I've look across there in East Lothian, they're somehow flatter than East Lothian. They're not by any means flat, this nice undulation, but I always get although I fight for Scotland's Golf Coast, I actually am a Troon boy, and my parents had a house in Troon, and I love those golf courses. But apart from Prestwick, there are quite a lot of the fairways which are kind of flat with undulations and so on. But when you're playing them, they're not flat. They just don't have not quite as hilly. But Portland, very very much a course you should go and play. And then you've also got the three municipal courses. So are they one, two, and three? Are they second or third courses? You got Darley, Lochgreen, and Fullerton. And Darley, I think, is one of the courses that it's just a gem. It's not really well known. It's possibly not maintained as well as it could be, but it's a gem of a golf course. Lochgreen, I think, is the most played golf course in Scotland. And Fullerton is fairly simple, good, very good course for beginners, and you'll get round reasonably quickly. But again, not expensive, and three great golf courses. We talked about them, one or two the other day, about them on the under 500 quid trip in Troon. Any comments on those three, boys?
Great place to park your car when you're visiting the Open, but that's my only experience there. I parked my car there. I haven't played any of those courses at all.
No, again, I think it'd be a great place to spend. Again, like obviously you're going to advocate for Scotland's Golf Coast, and I'm going to advocate for in and around the town of St Andrews. But it's another one of those amazing parts of the world where you could very easily spend a week to 10 days playing golf every day, and you'd probably have to have Botox injections because your face would be sore from all the smiling you'd be doing.
I'm with you on that. I mean, you've got, Jamie Darling. I fight with him about Ayrshire as I fight with you about up there. But I mean, you could just about walk from Prestwick almost to Irvine through golf courses, and they haven't got as many championship golf courses as Scotland's Golf Course, but they've got 3 open courses, and then Prestwick next is great course. And then accommodation, you've got Dundonald a bit further with their pods there, another newer but good course. Maybe could have called it Loch Lomond second course, but maybe not anymore. And then the accommodation side, you've got the Marine at Troon, with Marine and Lawn, and the South Beach. Marine and Lawn, I think, are in the running for Scottish Hotel of the Year Awards next week. I think they're in the running for small golf hotel or golf hotel for that. And South Beach, lovely course. As you say, Dave, it's a great place to play golf, and if you can get the train down from Glasgow if you're staying in Glasgow, or plenty of accommodation down there either way. So then you mentioned Scotland's Golf Coast, and then we're coming back up to Scotland's Golf Coast, the place. Why would anyone leave Scotland's Golf Coast, East Lothian, to go and play golf anywhere else? Just because you have to realise just how great it is round about here. So Gullen 1, and then you got Gullen 2 and 3, and they were built in that.
So which is the second course and third course there, Malcolm, would you say?
Well, that's it. A lot of locals think
speaking East Lothians.
What's that?
The plain speaking East Lothians making it very clear what the first, second, and third courses are. No invention, no imagination. Just number them 1, 2, and 3.
Well, that's the order in which they were built. I think that's entirely reasonable and logical. And a number of locals would say Gullen 2 is better than Gullen 1, and Gullen 3 is just a magical little course. A lot of the medal guys in the club don't like playing it for medals because the greens are small and tight. But I think, they were looking at, again, it was Mackenzie Ebert. They were looking at doing lots of changes to it after the Scottish Open. Gullen 1 had the Scottish Open with a couple of holes from Gullen 2 as a composite course, and it was great, and the town was very buzzy. It was wonderful, but try to bring that there with setting up in the town is just too hard. And then the club loses the golf courses for quite a long time, and then all that revenue. So it's much easier, Renaissance along the road, because the setup shorter and the takedowns shorter. But Gullen 2 and 3, you boys got any comments? Ross, you must have played.
I think Gullen number 2 was probably the first links golf course I ever played, so it always has a special place in my heart. And I may have said it on this podcast before, but the reason that I went there for the first time was my dad used to speak fondly of it from riding his bike down there from Leith when he was a bike rider, in his formative years in Leith, and he would always talk glowingly about Gullen, the town, and how amazing it was with, as you went to the golf courses just everywhere from Lough Ness right through to Gullen 1, 2 and 3 on either side of the road. So I remember when I met my wife, and 20 odd years ago, I came here and wanted to play a links golf course, and number 2 was the first one I ever played. And I've had a couple of great experiences on number 2 and number 1 since. So no, I'm very fond of that course, those courses. I haven't played number 3, unfortunately. That's a faux pas on me, but I really like number 2. I like number 1, but I just enjoy number 2. Maybe because I played well with it. I don't know, but it's just Gullen Hill for golf for me is, up there in next stop golfing heaven. It's just I love that whole location, and then looking back up the ways to across to where I'm a member now at Craigie, which we'll talk to in a second. And you get to sneak over the hill back down to Muirfield, and then down to where your place there, Malcolm. It's just one of the great destinations and locations for seeing and viewing what links golf is all about.
Actually, Dave, talking about, there is Gullen 4, of course, which is the Open.
Is that what you're calling it now, is it? Oh, okay. Okay.
Yeah, locals sometimes called Muirfield Gullen 4, which I think is quite
let's
nice.
Let's keep moving, because I can smell my steak out there. And that slam of the door when my wife came in there it indicates that this podcast's getting up to about an hour. So I'm not worried about my steak. I'm more worried about the listeners listening in.
So Gullen 2 and 3, go play them, not just Gullen 1, and fantastic value. They really are, those 2 great things. Well, just staying in East Lothian, just very quickly, we've also got Archerfield with Fidra and Dirleton. Two fantastic golfers. Dave and I are both members there. Fidra built first and Dirleton opened a few years later. Fidra, I would say, is the number 1 there, and Dirleton the number 2. Fidra, you can hit it, spray it around a bit more, but you have to put your ball in the right place in the fairway to make your second shots. A lot of the members think Dirleton is harder, but it's easier for the second shots, and the greens are easier if you're a low handicapper. But if you can't hit fairways, it's much tougher because lots of gorse around about there.
Gorse everywhere. Too much gorse.
Any quick comments on that?
I'll give you a quick comment. I'm waiting for the invite. There's two of you who both said you're members. I'll give you a comment. I'm waiting for the invite.
I don't understand this. You ask people to tell me you want to come play, and then you have to phone up and give them a date and a time. Scuzzy, you are invited. Tell us the date and tell us the time.
All right.
I need to get the 3 of us together.
Okay.
You're invited.
Thank you.
Date and time. It's ball is in your
As soon as you finish that steak, Ross, send us a text.
I can smell it. I can smell it.
And what they've done down at Archerfield, Kevin Dole behind that I talked about earlier, a fantastic job he's done with the whole complex down there. It really, really is. And you can get to play that without too much problem as well nowadays. Going back up to your side of the world, Montefieth.
I'm going to be very candid with you and tell you I have not played the Ashleigh course. I've played the medal course many times and very much enjoy it, but I have not actually played the Ashleigh. You?
I've walked it and I've not played it. And, I think that kind of is one of the things David Roy was saying there. It's so much less well known than its little brother as to which should be the number 1. It's a fantastic golf course, and I think a lot of people who've played it think it's probably the better course. So again, I would very much say to people, go up and play that. I mean, David Roy is a great name in the fantastic club. I mean, the main course is great. The views are fantastic.
Montefieth, 2 great golf courses on a great stretch of land there where I think you've got Panmure just down the road. I'm not sure where they sit. What's in between? Is it Panmure, Montefieth, Carnoustie, or is it Montefieth, Panmure, then Carnoustie? What's the order as you're driving from Dundee? Do you get to Montefieth first, and then Panmure, and then Carnoustie?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Again, another unbelievable stretch of links land that stretches from a significant town which you can stay at, and then spend a good chunk of time playing all the way up that coast. Malcolm, what was next?
So then we really are. That's us pretty well done, unless you're going to look at something like St Andrews very quickly, because we don't think of those as second courses, but you've got the whole Links Trust there with the new and the Jubilee in there. And I think the other little bit of news coming in there is the Dukes has now become part of the Links Trust. So Dukes, slightly more inland course, but a great track, quite long, beautiful views down over the town. And I certainly really enjoy that. We've made a little film about that that's on the website too. I've played that on a number of occasions and always enjoyed it. It possibly gets fewer headlines because it's not a straight out links course, but it's certainly worth going and playing, and probably easier to get onto sometimes some of the other courses, because some of the other courses are so busy in St Andrews. It's not true. So
I think,
yeah,
Malcolm,
the Jubilee and the new.
I think St Andrews is probably, something, not trying to wind us up, but, I think being the home of golf, it's probably something that deserves its own podcast where we talk about all of the machinations and minutiae of St Andrews and everything that goes on in the town, and, maybe a little bit of history about it. But there's so much to talk about there that, trying to wrap it up in 5 minutes, 10 minutes or an hour, 15 minutes is not going to do any of it justice. The Fairmont's got a couple of courses. Is there a second course there? I don't know, but we could probably spend a whole pod just talking about St Andrews.
Yeah, I think with this, I just threw it in at the end, really, because just to acknowledge there are so many other courses. And if you're talking at second course, you kind of have to have it there. I think there are 8 courses now, all part of the Links Trust. I mean, the whole, it's just a great place to play golf.
Another excursion, another
excursion.
SWG.
I'm not sure if we could do a podcast whether I can be on that or I'll just have to be Humphrey all the time.
We'd just then have to do one about bloody Slovian, wouldn't we? Just
it just shows we're just so blessed with so many places. And again, we were talking about Gullen and the people playing golf, but Gullen, St Andrews, Troon, you'll just see people walk along, pulling their gloves, carrying their gloves, getting off the buses with their gloves, with their clubs. It's just, great place to come and play golf. So anyway, I hope you've enjoyed our little run around some of Scotland's second golf courses. And remember, we've got the website, www.scotlandwheregolfbegan, which is a great tool. You'll see loads of blogs. You'll see a lot of information about what we've been talking about today. You've got a link to every single golf course in Scotland. Plenty of accommodations, some great tour operators there, some great films about the courses. So again, on the website, subscribe to our newsletters, which come out fortnightly, or join the 1457 Society. Come meet and play golf with like-minded folk on some of these wonderful golf courses. And you'll find us on social media, Where Golf Began, and Facebook, Scotland Where Golf Began. Thanks for listening. Thanks for listening to our havers and our blethers. Hope you enjoyed it, and we'll see you next time. Bye.